Good evening. We have two meetings tonight. The first is a meeting of the Cunningham Township Board. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustees Ammons.
Here.
Brown. Hazen.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Roberts. Wu.
Here.
Mayor Marlin.
Here. Next up is approval of minutes from the previous meetings. There's July 9th, 2018 meeting and a public hearing on July 9th. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is that
I'll
Jared?
second it.
Moved by Jared, seconded by Dean. Are there any corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. That passes. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay. Next is public participation. Does anyone wish to address the Cunningham Town Board? Okay. Committee to verify bills, Town Fund, and General Assistance Fund.
So this last month, should you look at the town bills, I sent a revised version because I caught an error, and I also added a legal, some legal invoices. So the total is, for the town fund is $47,982.44. And the total for the GA fund is $38,490.65, for a total of $116,473.09.
38 or 68?
G8 is 68.
Yeah, G8 was 68,490, town fund 47,982.
Okay.
And this is also, the numbers are in your memo, as usual, at the top.
Any questions for Danielle?
I'll move approval of the town fund and the general assistance fund.
Second.
Moved by Jared, seconded by Aaron. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Reports of officers.
So I have a memo that I put before you. It's a two-pager. General assistance participants is up to 127, up from 110 last month. Alarming number of participants are homeless. I'm going through address verification with them, but in many cases, in interviewing my case managers, folks are clearly presenting as homeless and are oftentimes referred from homeless services. So nearly half of our participants are homeless. There's a large increase in the chronically homeless on GA. I have done outreach to homeless services, so maybe because of that recent outreach. You can see the assignments. We've kicked off community workfare more aggressively with the new year. So we've assigned 78 folks to community workfare. A number of them are working in the garden, but also at Salt and Light, which is a new location we have, as well as our standard Habitat for Humanity and Eastern Illinois Food Bank. We are working on establishing another Urbana location, most likely with transitions in the mall. We also have a pretty large number, about a quarter, have pending SSDI cases, and I mentioned that we're ramping up our ability to help people speed up the process of getting assistance. I do want to show the homeless assistance statistics. Typically, I've done the entire year today. I've broken it out because we have a report on that. So the July statistics only are 19 households served, 41 residents total. Of that, the rental assistance, folks who are unsheltered and moved into permanent housing, were 3 households and 6 residents total. That includes children. Unsheltered and moved into a hotel room. Although this program ended July 5th, we still had folks we were transitioning out of hotel rooms and into housing. So we served 10 households in July, 25 residents, including 13 children. And then we prevented homelessness through eviction. That was 6 households and 10 residents. That's up. That's our largest month in terms of eviction prevention. We saw this last year, which is one of the reasons landlords tend to evict folks in August. Surprise, surprise. That's when they want to get new tenants in. So they evict folks who may or not have been paying. They let them ride over the summer, and then they evict them. So we've seen quite a few evictions come in, and I think that's a common phenomenon this time of year. I have produced, with the help of a new intern, a homeless assistance report. It looks at the 7.5 months of the homeless assistance program. This is really important data because it doesn't exist anywhere else in this county. We do point-in-time counts in the middle of the winter. We count how many homeless folks we can find. That's really undercounting the issue. The other number that's significant is the 650 school-age children in Champaign County who are homeless. That is only a fraction because of the number of moms and dads who don't want to let anyone know that their children are homeless for fear of the system getting involved. So generally speaking, our numbers are pretty accurate for Urbana. So you'll see that we had the 3 components: eviction prevention, rental assistance, and the hotel voucher, and that we ended the hotel voucher program and have invested those funds in emergency shelter, as you'll see in the budget today. So looking at the 7.5 months, we assisted 113 Urbana-based households. That was 250 residents, 131 children, and 119 adults. These are folks who are verified to be homeless through a arduous process. Of the head of household, when we count head of households, 28 were men and 91 were female. So we're 76% of participants are women, 52% are children. So the majority of people served continues to be children. Of the 113 households that received assistance, you can see the breakdown essentially, and we've actually offered this little graph that Darcy put together. It's very nice, where you can see the outline is the number of households, and the larger numbers are the number of people. So the total households moved into permanent housing is 31. Total moved into hotel rooms is 66. That was still the largest number. And then there was 18 households given assistance to prevent eviction. In the new year, we expect that we'll see more eviction prevention and rental assistance. Interestingly, of the 66 households that were temporarily housed in hotels, average length of stay, including 2 families who did not show to the hotel, so we were looking at 64 households, was 15 days. So 2 weeks. And a lot of folks were rapidly rehoused, or we were able to move them into emergency family shelter, or able to get them in a different situation. So that's good news that we were able to move pretty quickly. There were 7 instances out of the 66, 7 households where the length of stay exceeded 30 days. And those were all approved by me because there was an exit strategy, usually going into emergency family shelter, where they simply needed another week to process. I do want to say we're compiling the outcomes of the assistance program. This is really important, not only to get folks into housing, but to see, did they stay in housing? Were they evicted a few months later? What's going on? So we actually call all of our participants monthly. That's part of the Garden project, is we have something that's happening each month with the Garden. We call through all the participants. We're able to ask them a few standard questions about their housing situation. We plan on monitoring at least every 6 months. As of July 10th, we have gathered outcomes for 62% of our program participants. So essentially, 38% did not have working phones or were unresponsive upon several calls. The vast majority were not working phones. That's very common. Or never had a phone. So folks spoke very highly of the township. One participant said, "You saved my life." Program participants, we were able to reach 100%. We're actually currently sheltered. Does make sense that those we were able to reach are the ones who are sheltered. And some were in emergency family shelters, some were renting in the residence they received assistance for, and some were staying with family or friends. And I will have better data once we complete it. I feel like I want to get those numbers up closer to 80% responsive rate, and then I can make charts for you. I do know there's at least 2 pending eviction cases that came up during that process. So I know that it's not 100% success rate, and I want to figure out, kind of tweak the program and figure out where there may be systems failures. But generally speaking, it looks like we were able to move a lot of people into housing with the program. With that, I will take any questions on my portion, and I can hand it over to Wayne for his portion.
Jared.
Danielle, I was just curious, can you talk a little bit about where the strategy is for the new program?
For the new program,
Yeah, for moving into shelter work versus the hotel room.
yeah. So I have pretty good news that's not completely final, but part of it has been in the News Gazette. Due to a number of conversations that we've had with help from our mayor and the mayor of Champaign, we were able to negotiate retaining times as an emergency shelter for men. And so there is a process where See You at Home will be able to rent Time Center, not at market rate, which is important since we did pay public monies for that property, $1.2 million, in fact, in 2000. And we're hoping it can be open by October 1st, but I don't have a final date on that. That's really up to that piece. They will then move Phoenix Center to Time Center, and then CU Men's Emergency Shelter, which is a separate nonprofit, which is not religious, would be actually operating the nighttime shelter. And so it looks like their capacity will be about 50, which is up from the 20 that they had with the transitional shelter. So that is great news. Now you'll see most of the folks being served are women with children. If you are a woman with children in this community and you are actively homeless, meaning in a park, like the folks I talked to 2 days ago, or in their car, or in a storage unit, there is absolutely nothing for you. There's no place you can go. There's no option. And it's really a crime, honestly, in our community that that's the situation, but that is what we're in. If you're a single woman, there is no place for you to go. So what we are working on is a process of expanding emergency family shelter. I should have some really good news about that shortly, but we'd like to triple or quadruple the capacity of emergency family shelter and be able to take single women as well, including transgendered, women identified, and woman-born women. So making sure that the entire spectrum of the population is served. But I don't have specifics at this point.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay.
Wait.
We'll have a report from the Township Assessor.
Hello. So, since our last meeting, we've had neighborhood factor notices go out. I believe some of you may have gotten them. We factored a couple neighborhoods based on sales study data. Myself and one of my deputies have last week did continuing education with the IAAO. Laura and Tammy are this week going to be doing continuing education with the IPAI this week. The assessment work is ongoing. All of the residential construction new construction we are current on. We have everything measured and sketched. This is appeal time, so we're going to be working on appeals. We've fielded several questions from taxpayers wanting to know about how to appeal, what the process is, and our office tries to be more than helpful. Other than that, we're still transitioning to use more data in our office. We want to transition to assess residential properties using a sales-based multiple regression approach and trying to get all of our commercial property assessed using an income capitalization approach. Other than that, any questions?
So,
Eric?
Sure.
So I guess you're on track to, you're ready to get up to speed with your new software and get everything digitized. That's what's the timetable that you anticipate for that?
Well, the first thing we're gonna have to do is we're waiting for the county to decide what software decisions they make. Once they make their decisions, then we'll be able to make our decisions because we want to make sure that we can communicate electronically once they go to their new computer system.
So it's not that it's not that you necessarily must adopt the same software, but you might do that, but you must be sure that you can communicate.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Wayne. Under unfinished business, we have ordinance number T 2018-06-002, which is an ordinance approving the annual budget and the appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2019.
So you have in front of you is also copies of the appropriation ordinance. I've updated it since the expenditures did increase slightly, so that affects the expenditures in the balance. You'll also see a very easy cheat sheet of exactly what changed, so that you don't have to dig through the huge budget that I sent out. But that budget, Charlie, should be the final that's published, so I sent you the full copy. The cheat sheet just shows you that essentially all the changes are in the assessor's office. They were discussed at the last meeting, and the big increase is $26,000 for the under admin services, and that's for extra help to digitize. Everything else you'll see is basically we've saved some money on salaries, IMRF dues and subscriptions, and computer software maintenance. And there's been a couple of increases, but nothing over 2,000. Any questions?
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Aaron, seconded by Dean. Is there further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustees Ammons.
Yes.
Hazen,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
and Wu.
yes,
That motion passes. Next up is resolution number T 2018-08009R, which is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract with I3 Broadband for internet services.
I think the first one is the transfer of appropriation ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's T 2018-08-003, transfer of appropriation ordinance, Cunningham Township budget.
Yeah, this is simply I consider it a housekeeping item where we spent under on some things and over on other things. Overall, we were under budget last year, but we have to make some allocations between line items. I have laid out in a format with Wayne's help that's a little bit easier to read than the last format, so that you can see exactly what is being transferred. And we're not exceeding the aggregate 10% of the total amount appropriated within a given fund. So we should be able to make these transfers without a budget amendment.
Was that ordinance included in the packet?
Yes, it was in the packet. It's online. It's not a copy I put in front of you because it didn't change from when it was
From last
posted.
month.
No, this is the transfer of appropriate. It's line item transfers, and it is. I'm happy you can pass this down to the mayor.
I just don't have a copy of it.
You can see my copy.
Yeah, it's the past fiscal year.
Yeah, this is for last fiscal year. It's a housekeeping item that we usually do to close the books in preparation for the audit.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve ordinance number T-2018-08-003, a transfer of appropriation ordinance for the township budget.
There's a second.
Second.
Moved by Jared, seconded by Eric. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustees Ammons.
Yes.
Hazen,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
and Wu.
yes,
That motion passes. And finally, we have resolution number T 2018-08-009R, which is the resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the contract with I3 Broadband.
Yes, our contract with Consolidated Communications ended in June. We did not renew that contract, although we were month to month at this point. We're looking to cut the cost of our phone and internet in half from $600 to $300 a month. This will allow us to do that. You do have a full copy. Maybe this is excessive because you don't want to kill trees, but sorry. I thought you might want to see the entire contract in front of you. There was one line change recommended by Fred that they agreed to, so you have an updated version of the contract in front of you. Essentially, the change had to do with what county, I believe it's what county, if there was a, under 8.7 governing law and venue, I think the governing county was a different county than ours, and we changed to Champaign County. That's the only thing that changed since it went out. But this is actually using the public broadband UC2B, which is now called I3.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval of this item.
I'll second it.
Moved by Eric, seconded by Dean. Is there further discussion? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Trustees Ammons?
Yes.
Hazen?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes. With no further business before this body, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.